Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's okay. You've just come onto our new channel, Me and You Education. My name is Imran. I will be your main host today. And today I have with someone with me today who is my co-host, who is Ivan Humble. We'll tell you a little bit more about who we are, what we do, what we're about. But before I do that, I want to say this again. Thank you very much for joining us today. All of you who are listening, who are viewing today at this moment in time. As an organization, well, I'll explain as we progress who we are, what we are, and why we have chosen to talk to yourselves on this particular platform, and what is the purpose of our discussions and conversations. But today, our intention is to just do a little bit about the organization, who I am, who this gentleman is that you can see on the screen, who's my co-host. I've said hi to everybody. So, Ivan, through you, say hi.
Hello, Imran, and hello, everyone who's watching. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How's it been for you, mate, for the last number of months? It's just been mad, hasn't
it? Frustrating, I think, more than anything. But it's not been that bad, really. It's given me time to reflect and reevaluate a few things, so that's been good.
Brilliant. Today, guys, because we're about creating the conversation, that's the organization. Me and You Education has been around for a number of years. And we work at different platforms, we work in different areas. But one of our intention was to always to work on within the online world, to at least share our thoughts and reflections. And as you can see, all right, we are two very different people, or as an organization, there are different components to the organization, different aspects to the organization. There are different faces as well. We've done that purposely, so people from different backgrounds can come together and to create a conversation. And some of the conversation, what our intentions to have, are genuinely going to be difficult to probably to listen to, but they are important to take place. They're important to have. And this is why myself and Ivan have chosen to start this off and get people in, get people involved. And let's start having that genuine discussion, all right, making it real and bogged down in certain issues and concern. Of course, recently we've had this thing about the BLM, we've had other issues of concern going on, we've had the whole issues with coronavirus. And talking about coronavirus, Ivan, how's it been at your end?
To be fair, it's not been that bad. Not as bad as you lot have got it up north at the minute. Do you know what I mean? We're mostly out of lockdown now, really. Not back to normal, but it's a lot easier than it was a couple of months ago. And it's not so bad for the kids. The kids have been able to go out more now as well, so everyone's happy this way.
Yeah, definitely. It's made it much more easy. It has made it more difficult in our ends, no doubt, within the Greater Manchester context and in certain other parts of the country. But I think it's also important to do that. It was going to happen, right? You're going to have every so on, you're going to have an increase or a decrease. So hopefully everybody stays safe and everybody looks after themselves. So Ivan, of course, the story between what Me and You Education is about and the purpose of it, but importantly, how did someone like you get involved with Me and You?
By chance, and that's the truth. Do you know what I mean? About 3 years ago, I was filming a documentary with Dia Khan. It went on to be quite a famous documentary called White Right, but unfortunately the UK version was cut. But while me and Dia were in discussions, she said, "Is there anything I wanted to record?" So I said, "I've been speaking to this random Muslim guy online called Zach, and he lives in Manchester. Maybe if you wanted to take me up to Manchester." So I wasn't bothered about the attack as such up there, but I want to see more about the community, how they dealt with it. So, and I said to Dia, I've got a mate, Dean, who wanted to look around a mosque. So I said I could sort of kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. And Dia agreed to it. So we went up to Manchester, turned up at the Manchester Central Mosque, a big place, to be greeted by a bit of panic and confusion, really. The poor lad that I was speaking to online got a bit confused with our messaging, or maybe I didn't write it plainly enough. But when we got there's a bit of a panic because they thought that two ex-EDL members were turning up to convert.
What did you say? Ex-EDL members came to convert.
That's what they thought. And then we had this discussion. No, it's not like that. We've got a film crew with us, and then somebody disappeared, and they come out with the Imran, who at the time I didn't know, but who I know now is our boss, Irfan. And I spoke to him briefly, and we got it all sorted out. And I just explained to him that I've come up from Lowestoft in Suffolk. I brought Dean here, who was a former member of the English Defence League, my division, and I wanted to give him some of the chances that I'd had, like to meet Muslims, have his opinion heard, and look around the mosque especially. Do you know what I mean?
But Ivan, it must have been a bit of a shock because two lads, right? Then, of course, they're introducing themselves as EDL members, ex-EDL or whatever you were, right? And suddenly turning up in a mosque in the north. Now, there's a high percentage of Muslims there, regardless of having a camera crew or not. That must have been a shock and a half.
It was it was funny in a way, do you know what I mean? But it sort of put up a little bit of a barrier then, because it kind of confused what we were there for. Anyhow, like I said, we spoke to Irfan, the Imran, who was really good, I must admit. Explained it to him, and he said, I'll oblige you. Do you know what I mean? I'll give you a tour of the mosque.
Oh, wow.
But the trouble is, Dee is a lady. So I had to not put my parts on a little bit, but say, look, the film crew's the lady, she's the film. Do you know what I mean? She's the person doing it. Because you know what it's like in a mosque, sometimes the lady's not allowed that side. But Irfan was brilliant. He allowed Dee to come that side while we were filming. And that sent quite a good positive message to Dean, who was with me, really. Do you know what I mean? Because we heard that women are not allowed to do this or that. And that kind of, it was good for Dean to see. Anyhow, we had a look around the mosque, and Irfan gave us a really good tour. We opened every cupboard, every door on purpose, really, just so Dean didn't go away thinking what was behind that door. Do you know what I mean? Or what was in that cupboard. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't done on purpose, but I just I wanted him to come away from there without anything left to ask, if you know what I mean, or just hang on to. Do you know what I mean?
But because Ivan, you're the one who brought him down. Of course, we'll get into details of how it really happened and what you guys talked about. But what got into you to pick this guy up and to bring him all that way? Because that's very gutsy of you.
To be honest, before I got on this circuit with yourselves and that, I was doing my own thing. I was doing the odd private talk here and there, but I was already taking people to different mosques before I even done that with Dean. So I'd had a few trial runs to get it sort of perfected a bit more. But yeah, it was just something I'd done in my spare time. The best way I thought to challenge people was they have to see it for themselves. Come along and see for yourself. Do you know what I mean? And speak to that person, and you'll be surprised after 10 minutes of talking how much you actually share in common. Do you know what I mean?
So what you wanted to do was to give him the opportunity to find the commonalities. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, because
and I think, yeah,
it is. It's because when you have a view and you voice it on the streets like we did, nobody wants to listen to your side of things. So you can't get the answers to the questions you want to ask. But when people aren't engaging with you, people on, say, the far right and other extremist groups, they're the ones listening. So that's how we get this big growth and all this division online, because we need to have these often difficult conversations. But if we're honest, the difficult conversation is the easy bit. It's the listening that's the hard part. Being able to listen with an open mind, non-judgmental, and especially don't pick a side, because if you pick a side, you can't be a bridge builder or a peacemaker. You've got to remain neutral. And I'm lucky enough maybe to have that skill set, because I understand both sides now, or I have a better understanding of everything now.
Let me put it like this, Ivan. I've got to know you over a few years now, and I can put my hand on heart and say, I can call you my friend. someone that we talk, we discuss, we share thoughts, we have a bit of a banter. Now,
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I think that's not an easy trait to have. It is a difficult thing because sometimes the person on the other side might be saying something which is very personal. Look, I'm a person of faith. Now, when someone says something about a religion or a faith or whatever it is about God, or uh, naturally on a personal level, I feel it, right? But the thing is, it's about holding that back for a bit and just hearing that person out. Why are they saying what they're saying? And I think a platform like this, we talk about the creating of the conversation, we might have different backgrounds, but I think as human beings, that's what separates us from the animal world, where we can have a conversation and hopefully, without hurting, harming, killing, murdering each other, we can get to a conclusion sensibly. I think
And
that's
I
the
think,
idea ultimately, isn't it?
and it's like this idea of dialogue is even more important now.
We can get to a conclusion sensibly.
Hang on a minute.
That's the idea ultimately.
My laptop's just started and that's playing. Yeah, sorry about that. I think, sorry.
It's cool.
Yeah, because of the lockdown, the importance of dialogue has never been so important. Do you know what I mean? The mixed messages online. A lot of people have been stuck inside the house for 3-4 months, and I can tell you that they're not watching the rubbish on TV. Do you know what I mean? The daytime TV. They'll be engaging online with people, their friends, and the misinformation on there, all the different disagreements around various things. It's easy to get dragged into these arguments.
Of course.
For example, the Black Lives Matter. I live in a white town, so you can imagine how it's been like for me, Imran. Do you know what I mean? When
I can just imagine, bro. I can just imagine.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's been hard, but a lot of the people I'm speaking to, they have valid concerns. It doesn't make them a racist, but other people in my town are labelling them racist, and they're not. Do you know what I mean? We're living in a town where there's not much difference. You don't know the other, you don't understand it properly. Do you know what I mean? I've been lucky enough to be able to experience lots of different things. Do you know what I mean? So it's just been hard to challenge people at the minute because everybody's been sat on their online space and they're so ingrained in their viewpoints that people are arguing who's right and wrong. There's no middle ground.
That's the issue.
There's no middle ground.
There's no middle. I think to create a platform where people can have their say, all right, is a challenge within itself. And I think you're right. Sometimes we are in our own echo chambers. We are screaming and shouting. The online world tends to do that. I want to bring it back to how you came into Me and You education, because that in itself, it's a journey. Yeah, because I think someone from your background, someone from your particular experiences in life, to turn up in an organization which is ready to have a conversation instead of being in each other's faces, right? That's a challenge in itself. I think that's a story in itself. But tell me what happened when you got Dean to Manchester and when you started to ask the questions.
Well, it was a bonus because it was Ramadan, so it was even better for Dean. Got a better experience because he was able to sit down and we broke fast with Irfan and the brothers there. And it was a good time for Dean just to have a little general chit chat with people because everybody was interested. We were there. Do you know what I mean? So Dean,
did he have the biryani? Did he have the biryani or the samosa?
Oh mate, I love biryani. Do you know what I mean? But we didn't feel intimidated or anything. And I think the hardest thing for Dean was stepping out of that comfort zone when we got there.
Yeah.
Because he said a lot of things about Muslims like I did. But after we had some food and we had the tour, it was great. And Irfan said to me, "Is there anything else you want to do?" I said, "Well, while we're on a bit of a roll here, go get some of your brothers and can we go in that room and sit around the table?" He had a big table there. I said, "Can we sit around the table and just have a discussion for about an hour?"
Exactly.
Give Dean his chance. And Irfan just went, "Yeah," straight away. Do you know what I mean? He went, you, come on in here. He didn't really ask me, he just hoodwinked them. So we all sat around this big table, and I'll never forget this because I still like to be a bit controversial, and I still like to push some buttons when I'm meeting people because I need to know they're sincere, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we sat around this table, and I said to Dean, "Dean, say what you want, mate. They're not going to judge you. They're not going to label you. They're just going to listen to you, Dean. and he was just sort of silent. And I remember back in the day when I was going through that comfort zone is quite a big thing.
It
So
is, of
I
course it
just
is.
looked at Irfan, I give him a little wink, and I went, and I just blurted out, "Why are all Muslims Screamers?" Because let's be honest, that was a hot topic 3 years ago, and it's still the hot topic. Do you know what I mean? And Irfan didn't hide, didn't deny anything, answered honestly. And then once Dean heard that answer and that he wasn't denying anything or he wasn't trying to make excuses or
Maneuver,
anything,
maneuver out of.
yeah, Dean, we
Mm,
couldn't shut Dean up. Dean was just non-stop because he realised then that he was going to be treated fairly and not judged when we left there.
brilliant.
And the good thing was when we left, that little dialogue didn't finish there because we then got took out for a curry down at the Curry Mile that day. Do you know what I mean? So we carried on the conversation with other brothers later on, late into the night. Do you know what I mean?
So, Ivan, someone could say that you're getting pampered there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mate, the last 3 years I've been pampered. Look at me. I put on 3 stone, bruv. See, I
You
live
said
in a
it's,
seaside town, right?
it's good.
And we don't get the
Exactly.
selection of
It's good to
takeaways
have,
you do.
I'd say it's good to have friends on the other side, isn't it?
Oh, mate, food is a wonderful thing. It's like sport. It brings people together. That's certainly worked for me.
So you went for the curry. What happened next?
Yeah, I love a curry, man.
Yeah. So you went for the curry with
Yeah, we
Irfan.
went for the curry, and then no, our friend didn't come to that. We went with Zach and some other Muslims, and I remember as I left the mosque, Irfan called me back and handed me a business card. And if I'm honest, you know what it's like. Everybody hands you business cards.
Yeah.
I just put it in my pocket, and I remember Irfan saying, "Oh, ring me in a couple of days." A week went by, then I found the business card, and I looked at it, and it said his business on one side, then it had me and you on the other side. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh, what's this? So I gave him a call, and he invited me to come and watch a delivery they were doing in Huntington, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I went along to this training session, met Irfan and I met Dave, and I don't know if it's a stitch up or not, but there's IT issues. So I got asked to do like a 15-minute talk in the morning and a 15-minute talk in the afternoon, which back then it was quite out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because I've normally just spoke on my own about my story's quite long. Do you know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
cramming into 15 minutes. So, but I impressed Dave and them, and then I've been with me and you ever since because I've had the chance to start my own thing up, my own organisation up, but I'm not that sort of person. I won't go into competition with anybody else out there. I'd rather enhance an organisation already out there. And I think that's what we've done. Do you know what I mean? We've got something special. And for me, in my past, that lack of meaningful engagement, the me and you brand is all about that conversation we need. The me and you, not the us and them.
No, I think for you to make that decision, right, in itself tells us about your own personal credibility, what type of person you are, how you think, what you want from this. And I think one of the main issues that we've always had within the world that we're in is that every one of us wants to create our own structure, our own system, right, our own castles, right, and we don't realize that how much strength there is in standing together. You know, the idea
And
there are more things which are common, there are more things which are common between us, and that can only be seen when we stand on the same platform. And I remember the first time you and I were doing a delivery, and that was really amazing because we generally people think that you are a convert, right? And
yeah,
that's
people
that
do think
straight
that a
to,
lot.
that's what they think. That's what they think. And because that's mainly to do with someone on the other side, maybe someone like me, someone like Irfan, all right. Usually it'll be Dave or it'll be yourself or Johnny or someone like
Yeah.
that on the other side. And the mistake is that first thing people think. And but the thing is the whole idea is breaking the stereotype, isn't it? And when you and I
Yeah.
were there, and I say I am this, I'm an imam, I'm blah this, I come from this background, blah blah blah, and suddenly you tell them I'm ex-EDL, and this is where I'm from. People are like, eh? What happened here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Irfan's the worst one for that. He's a bit worse than you. He makes me, when we start the workshops and that, he said, what do you used to think of me? Do you know what I mean? He puts me on the spot. But when if I say stuff like, because I'm a different person now, do you know what I mean? So I try and say things like, I didn't like you much, do you know what I mean? But that's not good enough for FN. I have to say the words, do you know what I mean? I hated
Yeah.
you. Do you know what I mean? And then he runs up to me and gives me a big hug and said, "But you're working with me now." That shock factor when the kids hear me say I hated FM, and then when they run up to me and he gives me a hug and it's different now, but you'll hear my story later. That shock value and that it just
Yeah.
connects people because sometimes people need to see things with their own eyes working, and seeing two
And
different
thing
people
is,
together that makes a big
yeah,
difference to a lot of people. Just that.
Ivan, it really does. It makes a massive. It's keeping it real. Now, the truth of the matter is, even now, we are very different. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
like we are
totally.
people of faith, we have a religion, we have this, we have that, we have certain ideology, we from an ethnic background, blah blah blah. Now, whereas you not, you have your own breakdowns. You're part of your identity and your belonging. Now, I think when you have people of difference, naturally, not everything is going to be good. There are aspects that can be bad as well that are going to be discussed and conversed about. And I think in the real world, when people don't share that, when people don't talk about that, it's not real. We can talk about being PC about everything. You know, it's problematic sometimes. Politically correct is good, right? But it doesn't resolve the problem. It doesn't get to the bottom of the issue. Like I could, I remember the first time I had a conversation with, I think it was Dave, yeah, and he got Dave Allport is one of the founders of this particular organization, Me and You Education as well, and individuals been worked with in the far right for many years, and what a man, God bless him. But what I'm saying is, even he said once as well, he goes like, sometime what I feel is certain Muslims, certain people from ethnic backgrounds, they don't want to acknowledge the problem or issue that they have, right? They hide away from it. They don't want to discuss it. Whereas, as you've seen over time, is when people acknowledge that, you know what, we have this problem. Like you said about when Dean met Irfan, and when Dean said to sorry, when you said that all Muslim men are, or for some Asian men are groomers and etc., and he acknowledged the percentage and said there are certain individuals, all right, who are criminals who have done this particular crime, then I think that opened the door of genuine conversation. And I think
Yeah,
that's the
because
problem here. Yeah,
there is, and because extremists cherry pick everything. Do you know what I mean? So at the minute, one of the arguments I've seen recently in the last couple of weeks is the grooming gang scandals again. People posting up pictures about that, and then you've got the left attacking them, posting white people up, which they're both cherry picking one big part of paedophilia instead of talking about it, the bigger picture. It's like
yeah, which is the
most
crime
arguments,
itself.
yeah, and grooming
It's
gang.
selectivism, isn't it?
Let's be fair. That grooming gang label, I get it, but to me, it just takes the severity of the offence away. They're paedophiles. Let's call them out for what they are. Do you know what I mean? That way, you can't. At the end of the day, the people are wrong who are doing it. Do you know what I mean? Whoever they are, but
Yeah,
we just can't deny it, and we've got to keep that conversation going because if we're not talking about it, other extremist groups are on all sides. Do you know what I mean? And
so let me
that's
ask
what
you
we've got to
this.
remember. We've got to remember it's
You've
just not
got
the
to.
far right we're talking about. We're talking about all forms of extremism and little groups that are popping up in the last few weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially. So let me ask you this, because we're talking about, of course, the commonalities, and we're talking about creating conversation and discussions around different issues. So when you initially came into B&U education, right, what did you see? When you got into it, when you started to engage with people, what did you see? That how did you feel that this platform or this particular organization was going to fulfill what you wanted?
Um, I think what the menu education gave me when I started doing the first few workshops we done was hope, because a lot of the schools we were going into were mixed. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the kids there already had that understanding and knowledge of difference and everything. So I praise the kids up for that. They should be happy with that because they do give me hope. And then I look at my daughter, for instance, right? Her schools where I live, are prominently white. So we're still quite a few steps behind that change, if you know what I mean. It doesn't make anybody more racist. It just people are labelled that way because they don't understand what difference is and other people really, because nobody's prepared to have the conversations because of the fear of being called racist or neo-Nazi or far right at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Everything society has become so lazy. We rely on labels and tick boxes to just shut people up.
So
We've forgotten.
even yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay, mate. And I was just going to say, even like yourself, I remember when you told us your story. Of course, this podcast and etc. is that our intention is to share that experience of yourself, myself, and others that are going to come in. But like you just said, when people shut you up, what tends to happen? I remember when you said that you had your concerns and your problems. You went to your local counsellor,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and how they reacted towards you, even though you probably had genuine reasons of your concern.
Yeah, and I do
The point that you were making, yeah.
I do stipulate that a lot more when we're doing our talks now, because although I did have a conversation with that counsellor, it didn't fulfill me or anything. It didn't satisfy me. So I left there getting disgruntled. And then when I had the conversation online with somebody, that it was a totally different conversation because they kind of understood where I was coming from. They see the same thing I did, the same thing I did. And the hindsight is a great thing nowadays, but the biggest thing for my journey, I can say, I'm not saying it would have changed me or stopped my journey, but the person online gave me a solution, which was the EDL was being formed to stand up against Chowdhury, compared to the counsellor just listening and not offering me something. Maybe if they had said, Ivan, write to this email address and maybe this one, I'm not saying it would have done, but a lot of my anger and frustration might have gone into emails. And then I wouldn't have felt that need to rant online. But then when I did join that, the engagement with me got less and less and less. Do you know what I mean? Until I was put in a tick box and nobody wanted to speak to me.
No one wanted to discuss anything with you. And that made it worse because I think once you got your echo chamber,
it drove me deeper into the echo chambers of hate. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't just in the EDL ones, I was getting involved in other echo chambers. Do you see what I mean? And because then people were listening to me, they understood my version of the world view. Do you know what I mean? But also the downside to that, there's nobody in there to challenge my worldview either.
So because the thing is, now you had your first person experience, right, within the context of the counselor. Now you can relate back to that. And like you're saying, I'm going to different schools, I'm going to different places, I'm meeting different people. And what you're finding now is that there is still that environment where people are not getting the opportunity to discuss, to converse, to keep it real. Now, I know, I get it. You know, you feel that with me and you, Brandon, etc., that's something that you can do, you can discuss, you can converse. But the type of person you are, you're very open about how things should be. Do you feel that this platform genuinely gives you that?
Yeah, I do. And just one thing about what you were saying just then. One thing I did learn from the lockdown period and COVID was I'm not slating anybody in general. I'm just talking in general, really. The lack of people that do our kind of work that was sitting silent on issues that needed to be spoken about.
Exactly.
Maybe because ideology is easy to challenge, and to be fair, we're pretty good at that. Nobody was prepared to step out of their comfort zone and speak out about the things that need to be spoken to. I, you know what I'm like. I did straight away, and there was a few others bravely speaking out, but there wasn't enough people. And for me, ideology is the last step of the ladder. You know that, Imran. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of work get done there, but I don't think there's enough people who's prepared to even understand the grassroots issues. We need to be stopping it before it gets to the ideology. Do you know what I mean? Not be lazy and waiting for it to happen. We need to be more proactive. We need to be, I don't know, I think there's a lot of good organisations out there as well, but at the same time, I think a lot of people need to just go give their head a little wobble. Do you know what I mean? And look at their strategy and their messaging, and and think maybe we've got something wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because I think too many people out there are looking for a boogeyman to blame for everything.
Because it's easy. Ivan,
Because
it's easy.
that way their message is just getting lost. Because some of these great anti-racism organisations out there, if their message and strategy was correct, they would be battling this as well. Do you know what I mean? We can't just keep blaming people or blaming one side or the other. We need open, honest. We need to accept responsibility that we need to come together for change. Do you know what I mean? Because for the last 30 years, for example, we've just been using labels, tick boxes, and all that's done is put sticky plasters on open wounds. And look at that wound now; it's bleeding out. Do you know what I mean?
It is.
The division now is
Yeah.
probably the worst I've seen. It's probably even worse than when I was in the English Defence League. Do you know what I mean? The online division is awful because there's so many complex issues that need talking about. And when somebody asks a question, they're getting labelled far right, racist. It does nothing apart from maybe push that person to look for answers that way. Then the
Somewhere
far
else,
right will be listening, and that's the danger. The left, I don't think the left understand that by keep finger pointing and labelling, they're fueling the far right as well. Do you know what I mean?
See, Ivan, look, we have the same problem. We have the same problem on the Islamist side. Do you understand? So the conversation, we talk about extremes, all right? There are certain people, individuals within the Islamist side who feel exactly the same. Sometimes there are probably genuine reasons. There's a genuine, concern. There's a people who might feel marginalized, might feel targeted. And because of that marginalization and being targeted, they feel, 1 minute, I should have the right to say how I feel. Don't I have the right to freedom of speech? Now, of course, some of us, we exploit the whole idea of freedom of speech, because sometimes we are discussing and talking about those things which are very hurtful and harmful to other human beings. But like I said, if you don't create a platform where people genuinely can, I'm going to use the word vent, whatever's happening in their heart and their mind, that's going to go somewhere else, and that's going to mess up. That's going to create something which will be really difficult to control. We talk about and the thing, one more thing, Ivan, I think our terminologies with each other is so dehumanizing. Like we look at each other in a way, we label each other in a particular manner. I get why we do that. Because in a way, if you label someone, you think how you're going to deal with them. The problem is, once you've labeled them and boxed them up, what have you done? In a way, you've shut them up. If you call someone blatantly open, you go, you're a racist, right? You're a bigot, right? You are this, you are that. Now that person, they might not be that. Their intention might not have been to hold them views and ideas, but over time, continuously being bombarded with this type of slander, it does push people into a corner. Now, I know you. No, sorry, mate. Let me just throw this in. I know you are one of the champions for working with mental health, and I think around mental health, this is a massive area. Like those people who become marginalized, or people who feel cut off from society, and over time they become affiliated with organizations which can be very problematic. What have you got to say about that?
And that's the problem with lockdown again: isolation. People living on their own, stuck in the house on their own. Do you know what I mean? We don't even, we saw this division online, right? But this isn't even the tip of the iceberg yet. You wait till September till the schools start going back, October time. Nobody's been referred or anything yet. Do you know what I mean? That's because nobody, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a parent, right? And there's been times where I said to my daughter, get upstairs on your laptop. And maybe I should have gone up to check. Do you know what I mean? I'm honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you think how many other people out there are stressed and trying to work from home? They've got a couple of kids. It's easily done. Do you know what I mean? Just to get your 5 minutes so you can get done what you've done. We're not going to see the full out or whatever word I'm looking for until another month or two's time. Do you know what I mean? And what we've got to be careful of is I do believe a lot of this division is online, not so much in the real world as such. We're seeing the thing here and there, but that's amplified because of social media. It doesn't mean it's happening in every town, every day, every second. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But recently, the thing in Manchester the other day, a Black Lives Matter protest, a white man went up and grabbed the mic and said, "White Lives Matter." the attack on the asylum seeker down in Dover. These little things, and another thing today, Spalding, a taxi driver getting abused. These could be coming from the lockdown period. Do you know what I mean? People being locked in, and some of this hate is slowly working its way offline. Sadly, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I want to, because we've got a number of minutes left, and what we're going to do is that I want to at least present to our viewers and people who are going to be watching us, hopefully in the near future as well, is that one of the main purposes, and what are the purposes from your perspective, and of course I'm going to share mine as well, of this particular platform of Me and You Education, and what, like we've called it, the Creating the Conversation podcast, because that's exactly what we want. We want to have them real, hard hitting discussion, conversation from real people of experience, people from who genuinely feel marginalized, genuinely feel, you know what, why are we being targeted for? Just because I look different to you, just I have a different color, just because I have a different religion. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm from a different class of people. All right. Just because I'm white, I'm not allowed to say something. Why not? Or something like, or if I'm black, I can't say this. You know, I think for me, it's an important to have an open platform to do that. And I think that's one of our intention. That's personally my intention, at least to create something where people feel that they can engage with, they can discuss. And someone from your background and people that you know, and someone from my background, people I know, when we bring them to this platform, I personally think it'll give an opportunity for people to question directly why you think like this. What's the reason behind that? Why is it that you are creating, hate in communities and societies? I think that's needed in a civilized manner.
Yeah, and just that point you said about being a white person, then, do you know what I mean? One of the hardest things for me to challenge at the minute, and I'm going to be honest with you because it's a bit funny in a way and it's not. I call myself an ally. I'll stick up for anybody. Do you know what I mean? I was having a discussion with a friend of mine from a town. He knows my work. He knows me personally. We got into a little debate or a little discussion over a status he put up. And although I acknowledged his point, every comment I made, he just wouldn't accept mine. And it was around the All Lives Matter hashtag, right? Now, you know me, man. I've said it many times before. Martin Luther had a dream that didn't work. So we have to have hope. It's my hope we see each other as human beings before label. And he was trying to make me out. In fact, he actually called me a racist. And I've thought to myself, really? I've proved myself, do you know what I mean, over the years. And I did take offense to that, but I remained calm and kept challenging him, acknowledging his point every time because he had a valid point. Do you know what I mean? Some people were using that hashtag in retaliation to the Black Lives Matter. But then it got to the point where he tagged a black woman into the argument to reinforce his point.
Right.
Which, of course, she had her say to me, which it was her right to do. I didn't not agree with her on everything because everything was valid. But then I said simply, well, I could tag another 10 black people into my argument to support kind of the other view, what I'm trying to make you look at, because these black people were speaking against Black Lives Matter. So now where do I fit into this argument? Because if I challenge either of them, both sides could call me a racist. It's that hard because of the mixed messaging online at the minute. A lot of these little groups that are popping up saying they're Black Lives Matter, they're diluting the message of the Black Lives Matter movement and sending confusion and mixed messages everywhere. Oh, looks like we lost him, man. Now what do we do? I'm guessing he'll be back in a minute. Because we didn't plan for this, so I don't know what I'm doing now. I'm not sure. Is there a chat box here? You can write some questions if you want. And then I'll get Imran to read them out when he get back, wherever he is.
Hello, Ivan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, mate. I just dropped out as well.
Sorry about that. I don't
No,
think
that's
so.
cool.
My video's coming. My camera's coming on. Don't know why, but it's okay.
Right, Imran, we haven't got a chat box, have we?
We have.
What, for people to ask questions?
Yes, we do.
Oh, well, they can't find it.
People can't find it. If you go onto the YouTube, right on the side, whenever when they can write onto
Oh, they
the
can hear you
the
talking
side.
anyhow, can't they? So,
Yeah,
Mark,
they
you
can. They can hear
listening?
me. That's good. That's good because we're unlisted. That's okay. That's fine. This is a bit of a test as well at the same time. But the thing is
Yeah.
that on the side there's a section where you can write the comment. For example, I go,
Oh, is that on YouTube, is it?
on YouTube, yeah. So when I say hi everyone on YouTube,
Oh, I haven't got YouTube up.
that's what it is, yeah. Even your stream, it should come up to you onto your stream as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Right, where were we? We might as well carry on again then.
Yeah, no worries. I think my camera's gone off. I don't know what's happened. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
we can still hear you.
It's cool. Yeah, so we were discussing about in our final few about 10 15 minutes is that what is the purpose of the podcast itself. And I just told you from my perspective, I want this platform to be an open platform where people can come and discuss and converse. And of course, initially you and I are going to discuss about from our backgrounds, our experiences, and etc., that we can present and people can see and people can genuinely join in this conversation and hopefully get to a conclusion where they don't feel targeted or feel that they're being judged in any way or any way possible. So that's our intention. So for my question to you was, what do you think what it should be? Right? What is the purpose for you, this particular platform of Me and You Education, and this particular platform of creating the conversation, Ivan?
Yeah, so I am listening. I was just trying to answer somebody. Yeah, I think that's what, like I said, this is why we do what we do, is because of that conversation, and we all understand how important that conversation is, and how much it's needed nowadays. When we talk about, or when I talk about speaking to the other side, I'm not talking about any side in particular. I'm just talking to anybody in general, anybody who's different to you. It doesn't have to be color. It doesn't have to be religion. Just speak to somebody, because everybody's got a story, and that's how peace works and happiness works. Getting to know people, finding that common ground, and maybe one day we may have an easier life. But I think the work we do is sadly going to be challenging for the next few months, maybe not even months, maybe years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. But I think we genuinely need to have an open discussion and conversation. Thanks, Luke. Hi to you as well. Now, the thing is that the idea of this particular platform is to make sure that we have an open dialogue with people. Of course, your story is also important. My own background is important. And people who are going to come and join us as well are going to share their own thoughts and own stories as well. And that's also important. It is having the people who have genuine stories and real stories in life that they can share with other human beings and they can relate to. Ivan, I think we should pack this up today, and because we've gone
Yeah,
to
that's
about
good.
45 minutes, and of course the
Yeah.
camera's gone up as well. So what we're going to do is that we'll just get some feedback from our friends, find out what they think, and reflecting. This is how we want to have a bit of a banter, a bit of a discussion between ourselves. It'll be much more structured in this particular way. The important thing is that we have that discussion in a manner where people feel involved. I've just had Mark Wilson. Ivan Imran, you can only chat once. You have said you will create a channel and then go back. Okay, that's fine. We can do that. That's a good idea. So we will generally do that. Understand? So I think something that we can put out, all right, which is a bit more structured, a bit more clear about what people know what it is. And I think, Mark, I think we probably will definitely come back to yourselves, Mark, Luke, and other of our friends that are on here, and we will generally take your feedback because that's what we want. I think as an organization, if we are going to come into this particular genre, particular area, we need some clear, open, truthful feedback. Is it going to work? Ain't it going to work? If it is, this is what you need to do, and this is how you got to go about it. Ivan, what do you think?
I think, yeah, this is all new to us as well. Do you know what I mean? But we understand that we need to step out of our comfort zone, so we need to make these conversations louder. And this is our way of trying to do that, I think, because I don't know, this lockdown period has took such a toll on a lot of people, and I just think we just need to put a bit of positivity out there, a bit more openness, and hopefully, I think what's depressing more than anything, thinking about it now quickly, is you look at the start of COVID, that reconnection of common ground with everybody, neighbours helping neighbours, people doing shopping, clapping on the doorsteps for the NHS. Do you know what I mean? That sense of need, and we needed each other. And then look at us now, more divided now than online than we've probably ever been before. Do you know what I mean? It's just sad that we couldn't carry on that COVID spirit into this part of it, and maybe we might have seen some change, but that's all been forgotten about. Do you know what I mean? Which is sad.
It is. I think you're right, and this was a very good opportunity to people to get together. But sadly, because of this whole movement it's let me be clear. I think the BLM movement is important. I know people from a particular ethnic background. We need to discuss this. What happened, what's happened, what's been happening, what's going on at the moment in America and other parts of the world. This is serious stuff with ethnic minorities, black communities, and etc. But at the same time, we can't just label everybody what, for example, in America might call white people, or you're racist. I'm not ready for that. That's not right in the conversation. The thing is, when you do that, you marginalize people, you alienate people, and guess what that creates? That creates some very extreme individuals with extreme views. That's not right. It has to be an open environment. It has to be an open discussion around these sort of issues and deal with it where it's need to be dealt with. That's my opinion.
I second that as well. Do you know what I mean? There's been so much happen in the last 8 weeks, so many different things, so many different issues popping up again and again. And now the lockdown's lifted in some places. We're seeing the start of demo season happening. Do you know what I mean? We're going to see a lot more demos happening in the next few weeks. We'll see how it turns out, but it's not looking good. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely testing times. I can't wrap it in cotton wool and say it's going to be perfect. Will we see more violence on the streets? I think so. And I think, regardless of all this what we've been talking about tonight, another sad thing that it's quite not affected me, but it's been sitting in my head all week. And I spoke to Mark about this the other day. When did it become socially acceptable to attack our police force?
Exactly.
I know it's around since Black Lives Matter has been highlighted more, but I read in an article yesterday, I think it was, 2,000 Met police have been injured in the last few weeks.
Wow.
That is crazy. And that's just one area. You had some trouble in Manchester the other day where police were hurt disturbing a house party. You had a policewoman stabbed in the face the other day. 3 other policemen. It's crazy world out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Even on Vimy Road, we had a massive issue, a bit of a standoff with the police and the local lads and for people that came over. Right now, what's going on with these? These are the people who are supposed to, protect us and keep us safe, right? And in communities are going after them. What's going on?
And I think we've had this discussion before, and we're quite open when we're talking alone, but it's what we've said. We're looking at the UK issues through an American lens. Everything is different in the US to here. There's similarities, don't get me wrong, but that it's not the same here. Do you know what I mean? It just isn't. And that's where this divide comes in, I think. Our police aren't really as brutal. Well, you've seen a few videos lately, but these videos are just snippets of a bigger video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like we used to do in the day, you just take a cherry shot of it just to portray your agenda around it. Do you know what I mean? And just why is it acceptable to attack the police? Because Do you know what I mean? That poor cop who got dragged to his death, horrific. Do you know what I mean?
Horrific, yeah.
Just going to do their job. I know. I suppose if any people from the army, when they go aboard, they expect that kind of treatment. Do you know what I mean? But when you're just going out to do your job on the streets, so it's awful. And don't get me wrong, I've had my scrapes with the police over the years, definitely. Do you know what I mean? But never once have I wanted to punch one for arresting me or try to stop me doing something stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's just sad that we're at that state now, because if it does kick off at a demonstration or whatever demonstration, the police are the ones on the front line. Do you know what I mean? They get it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I just think
I think there's a
it's just
number
sad.
of
Do you know what I mean? I didn't mean to run on them, but that's something that's sort of got to me this week. Maybe
it
I'm
is, yeah,
getting a bit
genuinely,
soft
mate.
as I get older, but I just can't see how the police force is stretched as much as they can be already with the cuts and lack of numbers. Do you know what I mean?
It is, it
And
is. I agree with you.
now we're freely attacking them like they got a target on their back. It's not helping the situation, because if the trust goes in the police, you got vigilantes, and that's another story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
it is.
potential trouble
I've
we've
had
got coming is unreal. Do you know what I mean?
that's right, that's right.
And that's just
I've had
being honest about
few
it. You can't beat
comments.
around the bush no more. Do you know what I mean?
You
We
can't,
have to
you
be
can't. I agree
honest.
with you, Ivan. But we've had a few comments, all right, from Mark, from Luke as well. All right, this
Oh,
is how do we engage people who do not feel they have a space anymore? And of course, it says here by talking to them naturally. Luke is saying that it just makes vulnerable people more alienated when there is no discussion and conversation. Mark has just said, Ivan, bingo about you're on it about the lens, the way we see ourselves with US, because we are different, right? There's no doubt about it. And I think that acknowledgement of that difference is important. I think once we understand that there is a difference, I'm not saying there's no racism here, not saying there's no
no,
bigotry here. There
yeah, don't
is,
get me wrong. There is. Do
there
you know what
is,
I
there
mean?
is, of
But
course there is, but it's much more subtle in sometimes. It's much more ingrained in our communities and especially in
but
our professional environments. But it needs to
just
be
for
dealt with in a
example,
slightly different way.
in America, they've just had their 80th night of rioting in Portland. Do you know what I mean? That's
Right.
80 days constantly. The trouble in America is on the streets. Division is on the streets in America. It's not
Yeah.
like that in the UK. That racism and that the Americans with their freedom of speech, which is totally different to our freedom of speech. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where the online spaces confuse things, because people over here think we've got the same freedom of speech, and it doesn't work like that.
The other thing is one more area of discussion conversation is around the history of how Britain has I'm not saying Britain has not been in a perfect situation. In fact, Britain has been one of those powers which pushed the transatlantic slave trade. We know about this. We know about colonialism. We know about imperialism. We understand. But at the same time, what we don't discuss about Britain is the whole history of how from the abolition and even before, from the Magna Carta, the idea of giving rights to different parts of society and community. Okay, we can break that down, what that means and how that is, and is that justified? Was that real, or was that just paperwork or whatever? We can discuss that. But the thing is, there has been a systematic historical evidence, right? It's evident that Britain has chosen a path where it wants to untangle itself from all the bigotry, all the racism, all this type of labels. It has tried. Not saying it's done a brilliant job, but at least on paper it looks good. And of course, you have aspects of culture where cultural elements can't just be destroyed or removed, because people still feel someone who's black or someone who's Asian, someone who's from who's Muslim or Christian or whatever, you will still hold certain views and ideas about them because of stereotypes, because our culture encourages these type of views and ideas. And I think platform like this will help us to slowly but surely chip away and get to the human aspect, that we are much more the same than we are different. All right, we are a human race. We are not races. We are one human race.
And that's what people forget. That is, do you know what I mean? Because we live in a world where we see a label before a human being, and that's sad. Once you see people as humans, and we're all the same. The only way we're going to defeat this is together. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
All this, whatever side of the fence you're on, is rubbish. Do you know what I mean? You're just selfish in a way, because I've said it before. I think we've all got this blinkered view, whatever side of the fence you're on, and that inability to see past that is preventing progress. It's preventing change. It's preventing so much more that we could have. Do you know what I mean?
Therefore. Ivan, I think Ivan, we're coming to near the end of our hour today on this podcast, and I think
Man, I
we've
could
had.
do this for ages. I like this.
I know we can. I know we can.
This is good,
I know we can. I know we can. God bless you for that. I think there's a number of. I know Mark and Luke have engaged with us, and they've given us a number of points. I've got some of them here in front of me, and if you go onto your YouTube, you'll able to see them as well. And what we're going to do is that we're going to collate that, and on the basis of that, we're going to start developing, genuine discussion and conversation, right? Genuine discussion and conversation around different topics, different areas of concern, something which is contemporary now and here, but at the same time, we're giving evidence around, okay, how do we challenge certain views and ideas? And of course, there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to agree with you, Ivan, and you don't agree with me. That's the reality.
That's
right? That's the reality.
But
that's life.
That's the thing. Yeah, that is life. Do you know what I mean? It's like people. That's another thing people don't realize, is that you can have friends who've got different. I've got friends from all different nationalities, ethnicities, colours, groups, political ideas. I can still be their friend, just because if I'm friends with somebody who's got a different view, 9 times out of 10, we don't even talk about that. We just have a normal conversation, which as adults we should be able to do, is talk to each other.
Definitely.
Not just bin your mates off because they've said something you don't agree with. They're your mates. Do you know what I mean? Mates fallout. That's how I look at it. Do you know what I mean? But people forget that we're adults and we can talk to each other. It's not the playground no more. Do you know what I mean? We're in the real world. Let's make the real world better. Do you know what I mean? That's me done now, I think.
Definitely.
Out of words now.
No, it's all right. It's all good. I'm gonna wrap up here. So for our next session, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna have once we have a discussion conversation between ourselves, Ivan.
Yeah.
Right. The intention was to do this unlisted, so we can chip away at some of the things that we need to discuss a conversation about. And what I'm going to do is that whatever Luke and Mark have said, I'm going to put that into in our discussion conversation, and we'll have a discussion in the middle of the week as well. Maybe get some more feedback from Mark, Luke. I don't know who else is here in the room, so I'm sorry, I can't see your name, so that's why I'm not mentioning yourselves. But whatever it is, and what we'll do is that we'll get some feedback. We'll share that between ourselves, right, and slowly but surely make this platform a platform of genuine conversation and discussion. So I'm going to wrap it up on this basis. Ivan, God bless you. Thanks, mate. This is my mate and the co-host of Creating the Conversation podcast. And this was Imran, also here at Creating the Conversation podcast. We're signing out. God bless. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
I think we're still live. Right?
We are. It's not going off. Okay.
Maybe I have to click leave.
I have.